Welcome back to the channel. This is Stonkanaccis, and today we're going to be going over Tesla and the news, the trends, and what the technicals are saying. So, getting into it, we're on Wall Street Bets right now. Shout out to these guys. They're awesome, very entertaining on Reddit. And so, usually when they're posting all the Moon Boy uh, stuff and how they all made a bunch of money in Tesla, usually it is it has already made the move and is looking for maybe a pullback. So just something to keep your eye on. Market sentiment um, is usually a big thing for me. And so when everybody's happy that Tesla made a big up move, usually is where the trend could switch it around. But popping into the news, we got Tesla um, is up 50% since the stock split last week. Pretty crazy, especially CNBC. They were super bearish when the split news came out. There was like four of them talking, but yeah, everything's looking good so far for Elon being the richest person one day. And then Tesla's up to 2 grand, and yeah, that's about it. Really, not a whole lot going on. But apparently, millennials and baby boomers are happy with the Tesla Model 3. So I'm sure everybody that knows about them wants one too. So, but okay, getting into Google Trends, this is how to buy Tesla stock. And if you were around last year, this thing went off the charts in February 2nd to the 8th, which was around the top in Tesla. And then, so here we are in March 15th to the 20th. We had an 86 from a 100, so a little fall off. And then we had from an 86 at June 7th to the 13th, a 52. So, a little bit of losing demand in how to buy Tesla stock. Maybe everybody already knows how to buy it, or yeah, but we'll have to see on this one how it kind of interacts with price over time. And then, so from a 70 on August 9th, which is still a decline from 86. We're now at a 47. So, yeah, so we'll see how that can affect the price. And then the fear and greed is at a 70. Um, so, yeah, we'll see. That's pretty much the same as it was yesterday. And then, so looking at the chart, yesterday we had, oh goodness, sorry about that. So, yesterday, at the end of the close, we had a pullback. And I was looking at it yesterday, before the market opened at the 2 hour, or maybe it was the 1 hour. I'll have to go back and see, but it had um, bearish divergence from this point to this point in the charts. So, and that's from this top to this top. And you were also in a rising wedge pattern, which usually breaks to the downside 60% of the time. So you had 60% chance of the downside you'd break down. Pair that up with market sentiment on Reddit and Google Trends. Um, I do think that's could maybe be why it dropped at the end of the day. But also just profit taking off of the monthly time frame. If you got in, if you got in off the monthly in October at $200, to see it at 2,000, that would be maybe why people it had the pullback, because it hit the $2,000 target. And then on top of that, we have this right here. And let me pull up the indicators. Hang with me here. Okay, so looking at the 21-day moving average, let me take the Bollinger Bands off. Okay, so looking at the 21-day moving average on Tesla, um, you can see that every time we get far away and above it, it usually has a pullback. So 26%, and then right here on the blow off top, let's see, that was 46%, and then but like just, your average day pullback, it can be, it doesn't have to go 20%, 25%, and then, this one looks a little bit less. So basically, you pair all that up with the daily closing as a doji, which is usually a reversal point, just like, doji here, um, doji here, and here. So, you pair all that up, and we could potentially see a pullback. But, it's not all said and done just yet. And we will jump down into the oscillators here. Let me hide these drawing tools. And yeah, so actually we got to go back to this chart, put on our drawing tools. And then so on the 15-minute, it did reject the support resistance zone at 2050. So it came through it and then back tested it as resistance. So that is bearish. And then I like to go down to the lower time frames and check out what happened. So you can see it came down, bounced, and then it broke it, and then bearish back test, and followed through. So, but we'll see. It could be a bottom, but we'll just have to see, kind of like yesterday, how the lower term the lower time frames lead into the higher time frames. Okay, and so starting with the monthly, like we always do, we will reset the chart. And so everything's looking good on the monthly still. And then we'll go jump down to the 2-week. And like we've been saying, just kind of hovering over these lines, these two being separated, that's good. And the red in the background is signaling that we could come into some consolidation, but we'll see. Maybe that comes in around election time with Trump and stuff, but who knows what could happen with that stuff. But on the weekly, we did bounce these as support resistance. So, the last time that happened was way back here. If these lines would have been in existence, but we didn't have enough price action history in 2013. But if we got creative right here and drew them out, it would have been a bounce off of as support. So, with that in mind, we could be seeing a push off of these up for another leg higher. And also we have this coming down, this pattern. So if, this breaks it, I would be looking for a huge move either up or down. But, all that being said, we're just gonna have to work our way down in the time frames now. Okay. So hop in, wait. Let's go back to the weekly and look at it, how it's coming through here. Okay, so we did close the weekly right here at resistance, so, we'll just have to see how it opens Monday is kind of what I'm thinking here, because usually when the weekly comes in, it is usually due for a lower time frame consolidation at least. So, but yeah, I'm just thinking maybe Monday we'll have more clarity on it. And then, so the 5-day is also looking like a bounce, just like we talked about on the weekly. And then the 3-day, it's kind of putting in a different picture, as in it could be coming into some resistance. So, always the 3-day is going to take longer to transpire into the higher time frame. So we'll just keep an eye on the 3-day. And, if it did act as resistance, it'd put in bearish divergence from here to here. And, I would be looking for a pullback, somewhere down to the 10 simple at 16.13, like it did back here and, back on in here. But as you can see, it ran through the EMAs right here, and then it consolidated. So, run through the EMAs, consolidate, and yeah, maybe cool down some oscillators on the lower end is what I'd be thinking. But, with the weekly, there's really nothing stopping it with, especially RSI putting in a scoop right there like it did last time it did that was right here in November. And yeah, so from that signal went up 200%. So a 2x from here would only be a $4 grand uh, target for Tesla. And then you factor that in with the robo taxis coming, with the supercomputer video I talked about a few videos ago. It could totally, if that happened, um, 2x. So, but I think that'd be pending the legislation passed that it could be approved. So now looking at the 2 day, we are getting in the overbought region. So, and that is usually where it could turn it around in the past. And yeah, it would be bearish divergence, just like right here. But um, when a blow off top happens, it usually runs it up to a 90, just like it did right here, and then it would come in. But we'd want to see 2 drives of pink, just like right here, before we would say it's a top. And then on top of that, you have to put in a lower high, like it did right here. So yeah, not calling a top, but maybe some sideways. And then when you look at the daily, it is, it does have room to run on the daily up to resistance. So, yeah, I'm not real sure about the daily, but I do think if it were to have a pullback, it would probably find a bounce right here in this range at 1677 to 1650. Would be looking for a bounce, and that would line up with the gaps on the lower time frames in the price. And if you don't know about gaps, it's pretty confusing stuff, but there is a gap down here at 1400, and then there is, worst case scenario, a gap all the way down at 1030, I believe. Or yeah, so 1130. So could pull back all the way to 1083 if the medium time frames worked its way into the higher time frames. But looking at the 12-hour, we are seeing that it's getting a little extended, coming up there. Nothing to be too worried about. Still looking good. But also, I would be looking eventually for a pullback all the way down to the 200-day, like it did right here. Um, just because over time you can see it does act as a reversion back to the mean. But until we get, you know, probably a 3 day loss of momentum, I wouldn't be looking for that to happen. But you never know with Tesla. But looking at the 6 hour, it is coming down to the RSI. So if it loses probably past, let's see, 2028, it will lose the RSI in the 6 hour. And that is usually when Tesla has a pullback. Like you can see right here, loses it, loses it, loses it. And then we'll go to the 4 hour, 3 hour. Nothing here. Yeah, the 3 hour has been having some trouble along it as well. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully it'll go lower and we can buy some cheap Tesla. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but and then you can also see on the 5 minute historical volatility went to extremes and then it expanded to the downside. But then on top of that, since it is the weekend, I'm going to do a little bit of deeper analysis and I'm going to take off all the indicators and do some trend lines for you guys, because when you factor in uh, support resistance with trend lines, that's how you get points of reversal in the trend if it were to go down from here. So we'll go from this high to this high, and see here, we'll take off these guys for now. Okay, so as you can see, it looks like it got front run a little bit on that one. Now we can draw it on the downside. Okay, so if this was a rising wedge, rising wedges do usually break to the downside, but you'd have to get past this trend line right here, and so that would be, maybe Tesla coming like doing something like this. Uh, could happen, but not saying it will, but something to keep an eye on. If it topped out here, we'd be at the top of the rising wedge and could break down. But I've seen these things break to the upside too. So it's just statistically 60%, but doesn't really mean much, honestly. I put more weight on support resistance, these purple lines, than I would a pattern any day. And then, so we also have this guy coming back from 2013. And it would be from this top to this top. And then, so yeah, really nothing there. And then maybe we could do one from here to here. Yeah, you know what? There's really nothing to be done on the weekly, but we can jump to the daily. Check it out. 12-hour, 2-hour. So you can see we also have another guy coming up off the low, rising up over time here. So if you connect the bottom here, we also have another upsloping trend line. So if it did bounce here, it would be a bounce off the trend line, but all good things come to an end, and all parabolic advances. And then, just like you can see here, if we put on the curve drawing tool, um, so as you can see here, parabolic up, and then when the parabolic uptrend failed, it came crashing down through it. So we can draw another parabolic uptrend here and see what happens. So if this fails, I would be looking for the rising wedge pattern to fail. But yeah, until the 2-hour. See here, put our indicators back on one more time. So yeah, that would mean the 2-hour would have to continue on into the higher time frames. And also, these are my secondary indicators. We get the MACD and the squeeze momentum indicator by Lazy Bear, and that would have to lead into the 3-hour and then the 2-day for any of that stuff to get hit. Um, so yeah, there is that. But yeah, looking at the daily with our secondary indicators, um, is potentially could put in bearish divergence there. And then on the weekly, just continuation. 12-hour, more of the same. Uh, really nothing to be seen. And then we'll go down to the 1-hour, and we did have triple bearish divergence on both indicators, and that's confluence. So yeah, could see some sell-off pressure based off of that. And then what else are we gonna talk about? See here. Uh-oh, let me take this off. Okay, so just looking at these two guys right here on the daily, um, we are expanding on the Bollinger Bands upwards. So if it is going to continue upwards, we'd like to see price action bounce above it. But usually when you get separation in these two moving averages, that is where a potential pullback could come from. So 161%, and then go 161%. Wait. So yeah, we were at 125%, divergence in the moving averages, and right now we're at 161. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We are at 106. So if it was to get 120, that would put the moving average coming into this range at 1880. So in the future, if we see the moving average come into 1880, we know we'll, could be coming into some overboughtness. Like right here, and that would lead into potential test down to the 200-day moving average. But it'll also be working its way up over time as well. Now that we got all that covered, we can go check out the S&P 500. And let me take off all the drawings. Oh, we do have declining volume on the daily, so maybe be aware we could have a big spike up. And not real sure if it's to the upside or the downside, but based off the daily, we do look like we bounced it off as support, so could see an upwards move there. And then that would also line up with, tech stocks maybe have put in a top and moving back into um, the S&P 500 and rotate back out. So if that's the case, I'd look for SPY to take another leg up and to eventually hit the 380 target up here. But we will, that is kind of hinging on the 6 hour that came in the other day. Oh, sorry about that. So the 6 hour came in, RSI came in yesterday at the close. So if we see the Bollinger Bands expand up, that'll be bullish, all-time highs for SPY, and price is subverted. And I think that'd line up with stimulus checks hit and everything else. So with all that, guys, hope I gave you what you wanted. And if you did like it, please subscribe and moon up the likes and come back for more. Thank you, guys. You're the best. Have a great day.